published 1738 EDT, the 14th of September 2017, updated 2118 EDT, the 14th of September 2017. Arsenal launched their European campaign in chaos on Thursday night as thousands of Cologne supporters forced the kick-off to be delayed by an hour. The Europa League tie was delayed amid safety fears as some sections of the visiting form stormed through security cordons and tried to force their way through turnstiles. About 20,000 fans were estimated to have made the trip from Germany to savour the club's first taste of European football for 25 years. Cologne supporters lit flares as they gathered during the match in the away end. Riot police moved in with dogs as a precautionary measure on Thursday evening in order to navigate the terrace. Some supporters were spotted clambering over seats. Riot police moved into the section where the away fans had been housed after fights broke out. Police had to move quickly to keep the Cologne fans outside the ground under control. Arsenal confirmed on Thursday night that the game with Cologne had been delayed. The sheer volume caused problems for the police and stewards at the Emirates Stadium. More specifically, many did not have tickets and acquired tickets for the Arsenal sections of the ground, forcing the London club to close the gates and put the stadium into lockdown. There were reports of antisocial behavior, including supporters urinating in the streets. One photograph on social media showed a man with blood pouring from a head wound. Cologne supporters were stopped on a walkway as they tried to get to the Emirates. One Cologne supporter was left with a bleeding head after being caught up in the incident. Officers guarded the clock end, where the Cologne supporters arrived in the thousands. ITV political editor Robert Peston reported Nazi salutes and peeing on doorsteps by Cologne fans amid chaos at Arsenal. Witnesses said stadium seats were vandalized. For a time there were fears the match would be called off as police and stewards outside the ground struggled to get a grip on the boisterous away following. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger was engrossed in pre-match discussions about when the match might be rescheduled. "We waited patiently," he said. "At one stage one thought we will not play. I couldn't see the police taking any risk. We live in a society of 100% security. I thought they would not take a gamble when we saw the scenes around the stadium. Our supporters dealt well with the situation. What was difficult for me were all plans to think about. Do we play tomorrow? What time next week? But they had a Bundesliga game and we had a League Cup game. So do we move that to Tuesday and play on Thursday? All kinds of things. If nothing now happens after the game, then yes, it was the right decision to play." The Metropolitan Police told Sportsmail at 9:40 p.m. that 4 people had been arrested on suspicion of public order offences. 2 supporters are spoken to by a police officer ahead of the match on Thursday night. Police officers urged Cologne supporters to get back as they were held outside the Emirates. Cologne supporters were allowed into the stadium shortly before 8 p.m. on Thursday night. Once the game began, Cologne fans dominated the lower tier of Arsenal's clock end and pockets of them appeared all over the stadium. Red flares were lit and, when Cologne took the lead through Jehan Cordoba's wonder strike, the supporters went wild. They only settled when Riot police lined up behind the goal. Met Police had earlier released a statement saying officers are dealing with disorder at the Emirates Stadium. A policing plan is in place for the game. Additional officers have been deployed. Initially there were only 110 officers designated for duty at the game, but more were drafted in as kickoff loomed and the problems intensified. Groups of Germans stormed past the outer cordon, where tickets were being checked, and some tried to force their way through the stadium gates. The Emirates was put into lockdown and the match was delayed by an hour, with kickoff rescheduled for 9:05 p.m. Security meetings were held as safety experts debated whether the match could go ahead. There was a strong argument to call off the game. Equally, it was argued it would be dangerous to turn the fans back into London without having seen the game. Turnstiles were closed and fans stacked up on the generous concourse around the ground. At a less modern venue, the chaos could have been far worse. Police riot vans and dog units poured into the area and seized control, blocking off key routes to the ground, including the bridge across the railway tracks from Drayton Park Station. Police helicopters circled overhead. Some spectators with young children headed home. Cologne fans take over central London as they let off red flares before they play Arsenal. Cologne supporters parade along Oxford Street hours before the Europa League clash. The vast majority waited in good spirits in the rain, but it was clear at every entrance, those intended for home fans and others for away fans, that there were hundreds of Cologne supporters, dressed in colours and singing loudly. The turnstiles opened at 7:50 p.m., 15 minutes before the game was originally scheduled to start. However, stewards and police still had segregation issues because Cologne fans with tickets for the Arsenal seats tried to make their way into the away end. When the dust settles, Arsenal and the FA could receive calls from UEFA because Article 15.1 of the safety regulations states the governing body will hold the home team responsible for the allocation of the home tickets, so many of which found the way into the hands of Cologne supporters. Wenger accused the German fans of spoiling the big night. Back in European football for the first time since the 90s, Cologne have not played in Europe for 25 years. On the first night they're back, they spoiled the night, said the Frenchman, who urged UEFA to investigate. They were very clever. I don't know how they managed to infiltrate our fans. Did they go through membership of the internet? I don't know, but they did it very well. A Cologne supporter with a red smoke canister on Highbury Corner on Thursday afternoon. Fans of the German side chanted as they marched through central London ahead of the game. The visiting fans were in tremendous spirits as they dominated London. Cologne fans congregate on an Islington Street in the build-up to the game. One support collected a traffic bollard during the frivolities on Thursday. Where the problems from people with no tickets, I don't know. Certainly there were more people here than they had tickets. Cologne boss Peter Stoger refused to comment on anything but the match, adding, "My job is football and not the fans." Arsenal had been made aware of the likely invasion and said they had been in regular dialogue with the Bundesliga team to plan for the fixture. They gave the visitors 3,000 tickets and issued warnings about segregation. The London club closed down sales to members who had joined after the Europa League draw and warned the Germans none of them would be allowed into the home end, even if they had tickets. Earlier, touts had been selling on the streets to Cologne supporters, and later it was clear that hundreds were among the Arsenal fans. In Germany, supporters are not separated so stringently as in England. Many were at a loss as to why they were not allowed in. Security chiefs scoured TV monitors as the ground started to fill up, and at 8:30 p.m. came confirmation that the match would go ahead. Eventually the players emerged. "Welcome to the home of football, welcome to the home of Arsenal Football Club," said the man on the public address system. But it felt like the home of Cologne. In the end, the visitors from Germany served up one of the noisiest and most passionate nights witnessed at the Emirates Stadium. Supporters lined the roads of Islington, drinking and dancing. In anticipation of the game, Cologne fans marched through Wardour Street in central London before they play Arsenal. Cologne haven't appeared in Europa League since 1993, and fans of the Billy Goats are excited. Police attempt to control Cologne fans as they march down Wardour Street, letting off flares. Fans of the Bundesliga club are preparing to watch Cologne in action at the Emirates Stadium.